Hi, I'm Ellie Chichester, a third year Bangor Sports Science student who's going to do a short video on mountain first aid. I'm going to cover three things: initial checks to do, how to rate a situation when you come across, and the recovery position. Next bit, I'm going to do what to do when you find a casualty in the wilderness and how to first deal with it. So as you can see, we've got the casualty here. One of the first things you should do is to see if there's any dangerous items around and move them if possible to avoid any more injuries. The area around me, as it happens to be, is very clear, and so there's not much to actually cause more harm. Now I'm going to do the initial checks, which start with the head and go down to the feet. So we check the airway just to make sure the casualty is still breathing. Mate, you alright? Can you hear me? There's no response, but he's still breathing, so that's a good sign. Now I'm just going to start the full body check. Move further down the body, making sure you check the back as well. And lastly, you do the arms to check for any breakages. I can feel no major injuries, but as the casualty is still unconscious, there's still obviously a problem. As I showed before, the initial checks are there to make sure there's no serious injuries and to move any objects that could cause more harm. There's three ways to rate an injury. It's called the traffic light system. Green is when the injury is very small and only needs little treatment. Amber is when the injury needs more treatment and is more serious but is not life-threatening. Red is when you have a life-threatening situation, say you find an unconscious casualty who is not breathing. Going back to the casualty now, as I showed before, the casualty is unconscious but still breathing, and as this is quite an amber situation, I'm going to call the ambulance, but before that I have to put him in the recovery position to make sure he's safe. So for starters, you need the arm out, so the casualty has something to lean his head on. Next, I'm going to lift his knee up so I can use it as a lever when twisting him over. And also going to use the other arm, which I lay on front to use as a lever. And I'll gently make sure he rolls over and lands in a safe position. Right, as you can see, it's on a downhill slope. So I need to make sure his head is in a safe position and make sure his spine is straight. By placing the arm just so, you make sure the airway is clear and his spine is as straight as possible in this position, and by placing the leg in front you balance out the position itself to stop him from moving. As I've just shown how to do the recovery position, now I'm going to tell you why we do it. Firstly, as I said, it keeps the spine straight and the airway clear by keeping the mouth face down so nothing can block the airway. If there are 2 or more people with you, then it's not always necessary to use this position, as someone else can go and call 999 for an ambulance, and somebody else can stay back and monitor the vital signs of the casualty in hand. As I said at the start of the video, I said I'd look at 3 points. Firstly, initial checks to do once arriving on a situation. Secondly, a system to work out how dangerous a situation is. And thirdly, the recovery position. So to recap, when arriving at a situation, check there are no dangerous objects or anything that could potentially hurt the casualty more. Secondly, try and assess the level of danger which the casualty is in, so green, amber or red. And lastly, if there is only you yourself and you have to go off to get an ambulance, then place the casualty in the recovery position by making sure the airway is clear, the spine is straight, and they're in a comfortable position which should not incur any more injuries. Thanks for watching and listening, guys. Make sure you're safe out in the mountain.